OSPF means open shortest path. Now open shortest path first. Now this is also a dynamic protocol, dynamic routing protocol. We have seen already in the previous lecture, that is RIP, routing information protocol, and this is OSPF. Now OSPF is what? It is an advanced protocol. It is an advanced protocol, and it is for the big organizations, big network. Let me show you first how we can configure, and then I will show you that how it works. Then we will see the detail about this protocol. Now this is our design where we can configure the OSPF. IP addresses are already configured with the host name. Now there is no routing here, so we can just configure the routing here. So I will go to first this router, and when I run here show IP route command, so it shows that there is only connected networks it knows. In the routing table it has only connected networks, no other network it knows about, no other network. Now we want to configure here routing. We want this router to know about the other networks, create the routing table. We have did the RIP previously. Now what we did, we will do OSPF here. Now OSPF is a more advanced protocol than the RIP protocol. It try to solve the problems of the RIP which we find in the RIP protocol, like the loops and the limitation of the 15 hops. So it try to solve all these, that we can use this OSPF in a big organization and a big network. So let's try to configure. But this OSPF is actually a little complex, or we can say more complex. And it is also a process intensive protocol. It actually puts a lots of load on router. Then configuration and management is not that simple as RIP. Let's begin with the configuration, so we see that how configuration is different. Okay, so first, to configure any protocol, we do what? We use command router. After the command router, in a config mode, we put question mark, so we can see that we can configure all these protocols. Either we configure RIP, OSPF or EIGRP. Now if we have configured the RIP, so now we will configure the OSPF, and I want to configure OSPF, so I will give the name OSPF. Now when we configure the RIP, so that is the final command, and we put enter here. But now when I put enter here, it says incomplete command. Incomplete command, that means there is some more options are there which is not given. So I will check what options are remaining. I will use the command again and put the question mark here to get the help. So when I put the question mark here, it says that you have to give me the process ID. Process ID, and process ID must be from 1 to 65,535. It must be between these numbers. And now you have to mention this process ID between these numbers. Now what is this process ID? Now this process ID is actually a process ID. It is a identification number for the process of OSPF. Now what that means actually, it means that we can run multiple process of OSPF in a single router. We can run multiple instances of OSPF process in a single router, and we can give every process a different ID. It is just like we run multiple applications in our Windows machine. So in our Windows machine, when we run multiple applications or multiple instances of same application, they get a different process ID, so that the operating system, our Windows, can identify or differentiate between those different processes. So when we run multiple process, it has a unique process ID in our system. Same as that, we can run multiple process of OSPF in a single router. And what we can do, we can give different process ID for the different process. Now, just like in our Windows, those process IDs are locally significant. Locally significant, that means in one machine, what process ID is given is not related to other machine. Like if your process is getting a process ID 10, then it is not necessary that that process ID will be given to that process in another machine. Now that means what? Suppose we have this Windows here and I open a CMD command prompt here in this Windows machine. Now when I open the CMD here, it gets the process ID 10 here. Now it is not necessary that if I run the same process on another machine, if I open the CMD command prompt in another Windows machine, then it will get the same process ID on that machine also. It may be different, it depends on the process, how many process running on this system, how many process are running on this system. It depends on that what process ID you will get here. Maybe here you will get 20. Now this is not related to this machine and this is not related to that machine. That means whatever the process ID we are having in this machine don't care about it and it does not need about it. It does not know to need about it that what process ID you are giving to this process on this machine. It is only for the local system to know that how many instances of CMD running in our system. It is locally significant for this machine and it is only applied to this machine that what are the different process IDs we have in this machine. So other machine don't care that what process ID and how many process ID we have on this system. The other machine don't care. It is not related for other machines. It is only related to the local system. Now same as we have the process IDs of OSPF here in OSPF, and that means in a single router we can run multiple process of OSPF. That means suppose we have one network here, network 10, then we have another network connected to router, let's say network 20, and we have another network connected, network 30, we have another network connected, network 40. So what we can do, we can use one process for these two networks, network 10 and 20, then another process we can also run for these other two networks. Now router will identify that this process is different. Let's say this is 1000 by the process ID and this one is process number 2000. So it can differentiate between these two different processes, because in this process we are doing the routing for these two networks and in this process we are doing the routing of these two networks and they are connected to different site. Now what process ID we configure here, it is not necessary that we have to have the same process ID on other side. Like these routers, this from this side, this network is connected to other router, and in other router we have some networks here, let's say network 50 and network 20 here. Now these two networks are doing the routing with these two networks. Now that does not mean that here if we have used the process ID 1000 here for these two to do the routing with the other two, so here we have to use the 1000 process ID. It is not necessary. We can use 2000 here, or we can use 3000 here. Here we have 1000 for the routing and here we have 3000 for the same routing. So these two networks, these two routers doing the routing with these, but they may have different process ID on this router and different process ID on this router, because it is not important, for the other router. It is only important for the local router to know that how many process it is running. Just like in normal Windows machine, how many CMDs we have run in this system, for that it has a process ID. It is not related to the other machine, or it is not required for other machine to know that how many process ID and what process ID we are running here. So these process IDs are not it is locally significant, and it is not required to other routers to know about it. So we can give any process ID between 1 to 65,535 for this routing what we are doing here for this two networks. And it is not necessary that we have to use the same process ID on other routers also. Other routers, that means when I configure this router or this router, so it is not necessary that I have to use the same process ID. But I am going to use same process ID because I don't want to have a confusion here, that process, like if suppose we have multiple process, then it can make a confusion here that in this these two networks are running on process number 10, and here same router, same networks, same routing is running on process number 20, then 30 or 40, then it will make me confused. So I will use a same routing, I will use a same process ID on these routers. So whatever the process ID I am going to use here, I am going to use it same for all the other routers, because they are working on the same process routing. So I will use the same process ID. But remember, it is not necessary to have a same process ID on all routers. It is only locally significant. Okay, so I will use 10 here. Now when I put a question mark here, it says it's clear now. We can go and we can press enter. So here we have entered in the configuration of OSPF, and we are now in the router mode. Now what we can do here, we can just like in RIP what we did, we introduce the networks, connected networks here. So same what we will do here, we will also introduce this connected network to this OSPF. So in this router we have these two networks connected, network 10 and network 20. So what we will do, we'll give command network same as RIP, and we then introduce one network per line. So we have two networks connected, so I will mention first network 10. Now we have introduced network 10 here, and in RIP what we do, we just give this and then we press enter. So I will press enter here also. Now what it is saying here, it is saying incomplete command. Incomplete command, that means it is not a complete command, but it is a complete command when we configure RIP. We don't have to give anything else here, but here we have to give something. There is something which we have to give. So I will reuse the command and put the question mark after giving a space, that what I have to give here. Now what it is saying here, you have to give the OSPF wildcard bits. Now wildcard bits, what is the wildcard bits? It is like this, A.B.C.D, like we give the IP address or subnet mask. So what is this wildcard bit? Now wildcard bit is actually, it is a reverse subnet mask. It is actually a reverse subnet mask. Reverse subnet mask, that means we have a subnet mask and we can do what? We can reverse the subnet mask for it. Like for example, this is class A. So the default, we have not done the subnetting. We are going with the default. So for the default subnet mask will be 255.0.0.0. Now if I want to give a wildcard bit here, then what? I have to reverse it. I have to do reverse. Now reverse means like, it is not like this, 0.0.0.255. In easy word we can say that this is the reverse of 255.0.0. It is not like that. It is actually what we have to do. We have to reverse 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. Now what that means, the default subnet mask is 255. Now 255.0.0.0. Now that means what? Here we have all the bits on, and here we have all the bits off. Now what we have to do, we have to reverse it. Reverse it means disable the on bits and enable the disable bits. So that means what? This 255, when all the bits are on, we will make this 0. That means first, instead of 255, let me do this. This is what the default one. So here we have all the bits on, So what I will do here, I will put 0 here. That means here we have all the bits on, so here I will do reverse. I will disable all the bits. Then here we have all the bits disabled, so what I will do here, I will enable all the bits. And then same as for these two also. So here, that means here we have all bits on, so we disable the bits, and here we have all the bits are disabled, so we enable the bits, and this becomes the wildcard mask, wildcard bit, or we can say wildcard mask. So this becomes the wildcard mask or wildcard bit of OSPF. It is actually reverse of your subnet mask. Whatever your subnet mask will be, either you have default subnet mask or you have a subnetted subnet mask. You have done the subnetting and you have the subnetted subnet mask. So what you have to do, you have to just reverse, disable the enable bits and enable the disable bits. Very simple, and becomes your wildcard mask or wildcard bit. Okay, so this is what we have given. It wants this, so we have given this one also. Now I will press enter now again. Now again it is saying it is incomplete command. It is saying it is not completed. You have to give some more thing. Now what is this? So I will use the command again, give space and put a question mark again. Now it says you have to mention the command area. It is the command, and it is to set the OSPF area ID. So I have to mention the command area here. Okay, so I will give area here. I press A and press tab, so it uses the area. Now I will press enter. Again it says it is incomplete command, so there is more. So I will put a question mark again. So what it is saying here, that you have to provide the value for the ID, area ID. We have mentioned that area. Now what is the ID of your area? So area ID, you have to provide the area ID as a decimal value like this. From 0 to this number, you have these many options available to provide the area ID, and it will start from 0 to this. Or you can also provide the area ID by using this method or this format. It is like IP address format. So you can also provide the area ID as a IP address format. So it is on you, like what area ID you want to provide. It will start from 0, so I will give what 0 here. And now when I put the question mark, it says now it is clear, and you can press enter now. So it is not like RIP. RIP is easy to configure. It is not like easy like RIP to configure. Here we have network command, and we have to mention the network we have to introduce, and then you have to mention the wildcard bit, and then you have to mention the area, command area, and then ID of that area. Now what is the area ID, and what is these, why we are using the wildcard bit? I said this OSPF is advanced. It is an advanced protocol than RIP. So these are the advanced features we have. It is not like it is getting complex here. It is actually advanced feature we have. This wildcard bit is actually an advanced option we have that we can use here, which was not available in RIP. And also it is having the area options, which is also an advanced option which is used to maintain the big area, big or multiple networks. Because the OSPF can support a large network, so we can manage the network by using the area. I will show you how and what is this area. Now I will introduce the second network, that is network 20. Now this is again we have to mention the wildcard bit. So wildcard bit is again it is a class A network, and in class A network the default is 255.0.0.0. So I will do what? I will reverse this, and it will become again 0.255.255.255. Then again area. Now which area I want to put this? So I will put it again area 0 here. Now we don't have any more network here on this router to introduce, so this is done. This is the configuration is done here. Now I will go to the next router. Now I will go to this router here. Now on this router, first when I check show IP route, so there is no routing here, it only knows the connected networks, and these are the connected networks 20, 30 and 172.16. This is the connected networks it has. Okay, so we'll go to config mode again, and then we'll use router OSPF. Now again we have to give the process ID, and remember it is not necessary that we use the same process ID on all the routers. It is only locally significant. So what I will do, but I am going to use the same because it is not, I don't want to have more confusion here. I don't have to have a confusion here. So if you have different and complex like process ID here and there different, then you may get confused. So I will use same process ID on all routers for same routing. Okay, now what? We will mention the network. Now first I will mention 20. First I will mention network 20. Network 20.0.0.0. This is also class A, so wildcard bit will be 0.255.255.255. It is the reverse of the default subnet mask. Then area, and I will mention area 0 here. Now remember, I am going to mention area 0 on all these routers here because I am assuming like all these routers are in area zeros, but we can have multiple areas also. And what these areas we have and what are the different types of areas we have, we will see what is this. Now one more thing, when I press enter here, then what it will do here, it will actually create the relationship between the neighboring router. Because you see here in the design, in this router Andheri we have this serial 0 with the IP address of 20. That means it is connected to network 20, and it is also in area 0. When you see this Thane router, it is also having a serial interface, and on that serial interface it is also having the same network IP. And these directly connected interfaces or directly connected routers are having the same network IP. We have already introduced the network here on this router Andheri. Now we are going to introduce the network here in this Thane router. So when I introduce this network here, then what it will do here, remember what it do here when we introduce the network, it do actually two things. So when we introduce any network to the router, so it do what in the routing, same as in RIP also, it do what, it do two things. First, it start the routing for this network, and also the second thing it do is to start the updates on the interfaces of these network. That means all the interfaces of this network. So we have already configured this router here with this routing, this network. So it has already enabled the routing information sending and receiving on this interface. So this one is already sending it, and when we configure this router with this network, so it will also enable the routing on this interface, and both the routers will start exchanging the packets, exchanging the informations. And once, like when I configure, when I press enter here, so both will exchange the information here on this interface together, and they will do what, they will actually create the neighborship first. These things does not happen in RIP. In OSPF, all the routers knows about their neighbor, and they know this because they create the relationship between the neighbors, and it happens when we have in a same network connected directly. So let's see this. When I press enter here, it will take a little time to do the neighborship, but it will do that. We have to just wait for a little time. And it will give a message. Yes, now this is the message, and what it says here, it is saying that OSPF adjacent, this is the change, adjacent changes, and the process is number 10, this is the process ID, and this is the neighbor. It is showing the information about the neighbor, that this is the neighbor which is having this IP and connected with this serial interface. So as we can see from Thane, this is the Thane router, and this is the interface, and the router's interface, this is interface which is connected to this Andheri router, neighbor router, this serial 0/0, and the neighbor router is connected with this IP address. It is showing the
Hello?
neighbor IP, like this is showing this IP as.
Yes, we can't hear you. Your microphone is off.
So not only this Thane router creates the neighborship with the other router, which is this Andheri router, this Andheri router also knows about this Thane router. And when we check this router here, so we can see here we also have the message of OSPF, which is having the process ID 10, which we configure on the Thane router, and this is the neighbor IP, and this is the interface from the neighbor is connected. Now what IP it is showing here? It is showing 172. Now when you check the design, so from Andheri to Thane, we have connected through this IP of Thane. It is not this IP. From Thane when we check, so it shows this IP address, that this IP is connected to Andheri, that we can connect the Andheri through this, so this is the IP of the Andheri router. But when we check the Andheri router here, so what IP it is showing? It is showing this 172.16. But it is not true. From Andheri, if you want to connect Thane, so the IP address is 20.0.0.2. But it is showing this IP 172.16.0.1. Why it is showing this? Now actually what this is, it is not an IP of neighbor, it is actually the neighbor ID. Remember, it is not showing the IP of the neighbor, it is showing the neighbor ID. It is a different thing. It is not an IP. It is actually an IP address of the neighbor, but it is actually considered as a neighbor ID. It is not showing that the IP is the neighbor is connected with IP, with this IP. It is actually showing that the neighbor ID is this, and this is required to work this OSPF. When the OSPF, this is how the OSPF works, and it requires the neighbor ID. It actually requires the neighbor ID to identify the neighbor, and we will discuss it, like why it is choosing this IP as a neighbor ID. We will see that when we see that how this router, how the OSPF works. So I configured only network 20 here on this Thane router. Now these two networks are remaining, so I will configure that also. So network 30, it is again class A, so wildcard bit will be this area 0. Now the last one, network, this 172.16.0.0. so 172.16.0.0. now this time it is class B, so class B wildcard will be 0.0.255.255, because the default subnet is 255.0.0, so the wildcard will be 0.0.255.255, again area 0. Now it is done for this Thane router. We don't have any other network to identify, so it is done here. Now I will go for the last router here, this one Pune. Now I will check show IP route, and these are the network IP we have here. So I will go for the config mode, and then I will configure router OSPF, and again I will give the same process ID 10. Now I will introduce the network 30 first, and this is class A, so the wildcard bit will be area 0. Now see, when I press enter again here, it will do what? Because it is network 30 is connected to this Thane router, so both the routers will do what? It will start creating the neighborship, and we will see the message of neighborship on this Pune router and also in Thane router. So when I press enter here, it takes a little time, we have to wait. Okay, now we can see here that it is created the neighborship relationship between the neighbor, and the again it is showing the neighbor ID is this. This is the IP which is the neighbor ID, and this is the interface which is used to connect the neighbor router. And when we go to Thane, we can also see the message here, and it is saying that it is also having a neighbor, and the neighbor ID is what? This 192.168.1.1. It is connected to this serial interface. Now there is one more network here, this one. So I will do what? I will introduce that network. Network 192.168.1.0, and because it is class C subnet mask is this. This is the default subnet mask where we don't have a subnetting. So if you convert it into wildcard, so it will be 0.0.0.25 and then area 0. So this is what the configuration of OSPF. So we done the configuration. Now we can check show IP OSPF, show IP route to check the routing table. And what we can see here, that these two networks were already there connected directly, this network 30 and network 192.168.0.1.0, but now it knows about network 10, network 20 and also network 172.16.0.0, and it knows all these networks by using this O, and O for OSPF. You can see here the code, it says O means OSPF, and what information it is showing here is the AD value, that is the fixed AD value for OSPF, that is 110, and it is coming via this gateway, and this is the update time. Just like the RIP, we also have the update time for the OSPF, and it is this, and then this is the neighbor interface where we this is the outgoing interface for going into this network. Same as I will use this command on Thane, I will use show IP route, and this one also knows about all the networks. Then we can check it on this router Andheri, show IP route, and now this one also knows about all the other networks. So the configuration is a little different than the RIP configuration. It is a little complex, we can say. So it is configuring a little complex. Now working of the OSPF is also not that simple. It is not like the RIP we configured. It is a different configuration. It works differently here. So how it works here? First let's see how the OSPF works and how it do find the paths. So how it works, first this OSPF is what it is. The OSPF means open shortest path first, and it is version 2 protocols were defined as an interior gateway protocol for routing information within a single autonomous system. Again, autonomous system is what it is, your routing domain, where you are the domain, that means the domain which is owned by a single entity or organization, and they have, and it is actually called autonomous system. And within the autonomous system we can configure these protocols, and it is why it is called interior gateway protocols. Now the OSPF protocol was developed in order to solve the problem of large scale routing and to introduce the high functionality non-proprietary interior gateway protocol, that is IGP for the TCP/IP protocol family. So it is to solve the problem of large scale routing, because the previous protocols, which was the RIP and RIP version 1 or 2, it was not supporting the large network. Then we get IGRP. Now that IGRP is actually developed by the Cisco, and it is a proprietary Cisco protocol. It was supporting the large network, but it is actually a proprietary protocol. So if you don't have a Cisco devices, Cisco routers or Cisco devices, then you are not able to configure that IGRP. And that is why we get this OSPF. It is to solve the problem for the large network, and also it is non-proprietary internal gateway protocol. just like the RIP. RIP is actually not a proprietary protocol, it is an open source protocol. It is not a proprietary protocol, that means anyone can use RIP, any kind of router, any company's router. But IGRP is actually a proprietary, and it was only used on Cisco devices. So for solving that, we get this OSPF, and it is to work with a large network. Then this OSPF protocol is a link state protocol. It is a link state routing protocol. And link state protocol removed the Bellman-Ford Victor based algorithm used in traditional internet routing protocols such as RIP and IGRP. Both was using what the Bellman-Ford Victor based algorithms, that is using the hop count as a matrix. The RIP was using the hop count as a matrix. Now the IGRP was using the proprietary 4 matrix like load, bandwidth and delay. That was the different. But the OSPF is now using the different thing. It is using what OSPF has introduced a new concept, and such as the authentication of routing updates, variable length subnet mask, route summarization, etc. Now it supports the authentication of routing updates also, and that was available in routing version RIP version 1 also 2 also. Then it uses the VLSM, that is, we can say it is now classless routing protocol that can support the VLSM also. Then one more thing it has is route summarization. Now route summarization is required when you have a big network, because the OSPF was designed to support the big network. That is why it requires this route summarization also. Route summarization, that means to summarize the routes to create a single route, to create a short information about the multiple networks, so that the routing table will not get big. Then link can be defined as an interface of the router. So link can also be defined as an interface of the router. Then the state of the link is a description of that interface and of its relationship to its neighboring router. So a description of the interface would include, for example, the IP address of the interface, the mask, the type of the network it is connected to, and the routers connected to that network, and so on. So the collection of all these link states would form a link state database. So link is actually considered as a description of the interface. It has the IP address of the interface, mask, and type of the network connected, routers connected to the network. It combines, create the link state, and the collection of these link states create the link state database. So the method of collecting the link state information and find the appropriate path to the destination network is called as the link state algorithm, and the algorithm of link state routing is called as Dijkstra algorithm. So how it works first? So as we configure this OSPF protocol in this design, so what happened first when we configure the OSPF on these routers? So first what we do, we enable the OSPF and we enable the routing for these networks. Now once we enable the routing for these networks by mentioning the network command, so what the router do, it enables the routing protocol OSPF, and its OSPF will start routing for these networks, and also it starts sending the updates and receiving the updates on those IP address, those interfaces of that network. So when we introduce the network 10 here on this router, so it start doing the routing for network 10, and start the routing update, sending and receiving on that IP address, all the IP addresses of that interface, that network. When we mention network 10T, so they will do what? They will start sending the updates on that, start doing the routing for the network 20, and start sending and receiving the updates on that network, that interface of that network 20. Same as happened here when we do this on this Thane router. So both the routers will start sending the update on this side. It will send on this side, and this router will start sending on this side. So what happened when they start sending the update to each other? they create the neighborship first. So first, what happen in router in OSPF, they actually create the neighborship. They create the neighborship and they create a table of the neighborship. That means they create a table, it is called neighbor table. And in the neighbor table, this router have the information about the neighbors. That means in this router, it has an information that it has a neighbor which is Thane. It has an information that the neighbor is Thane. And this Thane router has two neighbors. So in this side it knows that it has a neighbor which is Andheri, and on this side it has a neighbor which is Pune. So it knows that in this side it is having the neighbor of Pune. So all of these routers knows about the neighbors first. And this router says, okay, I have a neighbor here in this side, and that is what? Thane. So actually first they start sending the update about their self. So they start sending the information about their self that I am Andheri. It is start sending that I am Andheri, and this is my router ID. Now what is the router ID? So we saw that the router ID was the IP address of that router. So router ID actually decides by the router here in the OSPF. So what it decides here, which IP it is deciding here. So first the router do what? It actually checks that what are the interfaces it has and what IP addresses on these interfaces it has. So if for example the Andheri router, we have the serial and fast Ethernet interfaces, and in those interfaces we have the IP addresses like 10.0.0.1 here on fast Ethernet. On serial we have 20.0.0.1. So the router ID for this Andheri router will be the largest IP or biggest IP of any interface. This router has these two interfaces, fast Ethernet, serial, and within these two IP addresses, this IP is the big IP. We can say it is the big IP. So this router, Andheri's router ID will be this 20.0.0.1. So when it sends the information update to this Thane router, it says that I am Andheri and my router ID is this. I am using process 10 and this is my router ID 20.0.0.1. Now same as for Thane, when Thane sends the information to this Andheri router, so it says that I am Thane, I am using the process ID 10, and what is the router ID for this router Thane? So we can see we have three interfaces here, serial 0, serial 0/1 and fast Ethernet 0. When you compare the IP addresses of all these three interfaces, so we can say that this is the large one, this is the big IP, and this becomes the router ID for Thane. So when it sends the information, it says my router ID is this 172.16.0.0.1, and that is why we saw that when we configure the routing on this Thane, so we saw that when they create the neighborship, we saw under the Thane it shows that this is the Andheri router, and the router ID it shows this 20.0.0.1, and from Andheri router it says that the Thane router is on this side, on this interface, and the router ID is 172.16.0.1. Then when we configure the routing on this Pune router, so it also starts sending the information on this interface. And remember, when we configure this network on Thane, it was also start sending the information on this interface. So when they configure, they send information of each other, so they know each other, and they create the routing, they create the neighbor table. They create the neighbor table, and neighbor table they say that this Thane router says I am Thane and I am connected to this side, and this is my router ID 172.16.0.0.1. It also sends the same router ID this side. Now this Pune router says I am Pune and I am connected to this interface. And what is the Pune's router ID? So we can say we have these two interfaces, and this is the router ID. and because if we compare both the interface IP addresses, so this IP address is bigger than the other one. So this IP address becomes the router ID. And as we saw when we configure this, we saw that this was the router ID for this Pune router. So they create the neighborship relationship between the neighbors. Now remember, there are the criteria for creating the neighborship. And if the criteria does not matches, then what? They will not create the neighborship. So for creating the neighborship, first they start sending the information, and they for sending the information, they do what? They use the hello protocol. They actually use the hello protocol, and with the hello protocol they start sending the hello packets. It's a small packet with these informations. Start sending the hello packet, that means this router sends to this router sends to this router, because we configure this network, so it enables the routing on these networks, these interface IP. And also when they send, so they send the hello packets to each other, and in these hello packets they have the information about their self. Now what are the information they have and what is required? Now first, to create the neighborship first, so first they inform about like what is the router ID. They say that I am Andheri and this is my router ID. Then the second information they send that what is the process ID. What is the process ID they are running. Then what they send is the area detail, like what area they are connected. Area information. Then also they send the subnet information. What subnet we are connected. Now there is one more option, it should be there, and that is what? The hello interval. Hello interval, that means after how many times it is going to send the hello packets. What is the hello interval for this router? It sends that. So these informations they send through the hello packets. Now what is important to create the neighborship? So first important thing is that they must be in a same subnet. This is important to create the neighborship. Otherwise they will not create the neighbor relationship. That means when this router Andheri sends the packet to this side, so it says I am in network 20, and this router, when this router sends to this side, it says okay, I am also in network 20. So on this interface, because these two interfaces which is directly connected, they must be in the same network, otherwise they will not create a relationship. Then they also talk about the area. Remember, we configured the area also. When we were introducing on this router, when we were introducing this network 20, we also introduced that this network is under area 0. We configure the same thing here also. We configure on this router, when we configure this network, we also said that this network is under area 0. So the directly connected networks must be in the same area. Otherwise they will not create the relationship. They will not configure the neighbor relationship. They will not create the neighbor relationship. Then the process ID, I said already that process ID is locally significant. So whatever the process ID we have on this router, the other router don't care about it. It can be any process ID, so it is not required. So this one does not require. It is not compulsory. Then also router ID is not for creating the neighbor relationship. It is used for the different thing. I will tell you what it is used for. So why they are sending the router IDs to each other? They are sending the router IDs for the different purpose. They are sending this information. So in these information, these area must be same, the subnet must be same, directly connected routers. Then also there must be the same interval. This hello interval also must be same. Otherwise they will not create the neighborship. So if these three things matches, then only they create the neighbor relationship. Otherwise they will not create the neighbor relationship. Now once they created the neighbor relationship, they create the neighbor table, and in the neighbor table they add the information about the neighbors with the router ID. Now once the routing neighborship is created, then what? Here all the routers will decide first. They do the election here. They do the election, and they do the election to decide the designated router. They do this to decide the designated router, that who is going to be the designated router and who is going to be non-designated routers. So first they have to decide the designated router, and then all the rest of the routers will be non-designated routers. Now how they decide that which router will become the designated router? And for this election, this router IDs will come. So every router is sending their router ID. They're saying that this is my router ID. This router says this is my router ID. This router says this is my router ID. Now once they compare to each other, so they will decide that who is going to be the DR, designated router. So how they decide? They decide by the minimum router ID. Remember, the minimum router ID will become the DR. The router which is having the minimum router ID, that router becomes the DR, designated router. And all the rest of the routers become non-designated routers, non-DR. So all the other routers becomes the non-designated routers. So how they decide? They decide based on the router ID, and they say that which router has the minimum router ID, that router will become the DR. In this case, this Andheri router was sending this is router ID, that it says this is my router ID. This Thane router saying this is my router ID, and this Pune router was saying that this is my router ID. So when we compare all these three router IDs, so we can say that this router ID is the minimum one, and this router ID wins the election automatically, and this Andheri will become what? The DR. This will be our DR router. Now what this DR do? This DR is actually for designating the routing information to all the other non-DR routers. Non-DR routers, that means when any changes comes to the network, when some networks comes and goes, so that router informs the DR, and the DR will inform to other non-DR routers. They will inform the DR router will inform the other routers. For example, this network goes down here, so this router knows that the network goes down, so it will inform the DR router that the networks are changed here. Now this DR router will inform the other all non-DR routers that these networks are not available, or some topology has changed. So if any topology changes, if suppose some network comes or goes, or some changes happens to the network topology, so the router which is connected to those changes, they send the information to DR, and then DR will send the information to other routers. Now if suppose the DR router is not running, then what happens? If suppose the DR router corrupts, then what happens? They don't do the election one more time. They actually has one backup DR router. Backup DR router is only for backup. It is to just save some time of doing the re-election. So they just don't want to do the re-election, so they keep this BDR also, backup designated router. That means the backup designated router will be the router which is the second minimum IP address. So if suppose this one is our DR here, this router, so the second lowest will be this 172, because this one is 192. So this one will be the BDR. Now BDR will not do anything, it will work like a non-DR router, but in case if the DR is not available, or DR is not available or corrupt, then this DDR will become DR to save the time of re-election. So it can become the DR and it will start sending and receiving updates. So what the OSPF do first, when we configure, it starts sending it uses the hello packets and starts sending the hello packets to each other, starts sending the information of the router ID, process ID, area ID and subnet and hello intervals. And these three information is required to create the neighborship, otherwise it will not create the neighborship. Once the neighborship is created, then they will compare the router IDs and then decide the designated router or non-designated routers, or also backup designated router. Now once everything is decided, then they will start sending the information about their link and the state of their link. So which networks they are connected and which network they are not connected, they will start sending the information about it. So these routers will start sending the information about the networks. Like this Andheri router, it will send the information to this router saying that I have connected to these two networks, like network 20 and network 10, and this router will start sending the information saying that I am connected to these networks, like network 20, network 30, and also network this 172.16.0.0, and it will send the same information to this side also. It will send the same information to this side also, and this side this router will send that I have these networks, like network 30 and network 192.168.1.0. It will start sending this. Now when they start sending this, so the AD value for these networks will be again the OSPF AD value. The AD value is what? 110, that is 110. This is the AD value for the OSPF. So all the routes AD value will be 110. Now to calculate the distance, they will go for matrix, because the AD value is same. It is AD value is 110. So they will try to find the best path. They will go for the matrix. Now what is the matrix for this OSPF protocol? It is cost. The matrix for the OSPF protocol is cost. That means it calculates the cost of the link to reach the best path. To see the best path, it do what? It actually calculate the cost. It uses a formula for the cost, and the cost it calculates based on the bandwidth. Now for example, for this Andheri network, these two networks, network 20 and 10, both are directly connected. So the cost will be 0 for both the networks. Cost 0, and this one will be also cost 0. Now when this router sends that Thane router, when Thane router sends that I have network 20, 30 and 172.16. So it reads the information to this Andheri router. Now Andheri router says network 20 I also know, I am also directly connected, and my cost is also 0. Now what about the network 30? So for network 30, it calculates the cost of this link, because the router, this router will send that it is 0. That means the cost is 0. So whatever the cost it will send from Thane, it will add the cost it takes to reach this Thane. So for reach the Thane, it is going for this link. So it will add in this cost which is sent by the Thane, it will add the own cost. It will add its own cost, the cost of reaching the Thane network. So if this bandwidth, if this serial interface which is connected to Thane, if it is 10 Mbps, so it will calculate based on this 10 Mbps that what is the cost for reaching the network 30. So whatever the cost comes for this, it will add the cost into this 0. Now it calculate the cost by using the formula like whatever the costs in the whatever the bandwidth we have in bit. So 10 Mbps, that means 10,000 bits divided by 100,000 multiply by 255 or 256, I think. So it do this, and then whatever comes, it becomes the cost for this link. Then it will add the cost sent by Thane, that is 0. So it will become the cost of this network 30. So whatever the cost comes here, it will become the cost for that network. For example, network 30. And same as for this network, from this Thane router, it will also send that I am directly connected with the 0. So how much cost it will take, it will depend on the cost of this link. So whatever the cost comes, it will add into this sent cost, and then it will create the total cost of this link. So actually the OSPF checks the cost. It does not check the hops. Remember, it does not depend on the hops. It depends on the cost. For example, if you have network like this, you have 2 routers here, and from this side you may have a single router. Now here you have one network, and here you have one network, and you can go from this path, and also you can go from this path. Now when you go from this path, you have here 1 Mbps link, you have here 1 Mbps link, and if you go from this path, you have 10 Mbps link here, 10 Mbps link here, and also 10 Mbps link here. Now if you see RIP, if you use RIP protocol, it does not see the cost, it does not see the bandwidth, it only see the hops. So for RIP, this path it will take 1, 2, 3 hops, and this path it will take 1 and 2 hops. So RIP will always choose this path. It is not the fastest path, but it will still take this path. But it is not a fast path. Why? Because here it will get 1 and 1. If you combine both, it will get only 2 Mbps speed. But if you see here, it is getting 10 Mbps for each hop. 10, 10, 10, or we can say totally 30 Mbps speed it is getting. So we can see that this link is fast, but still the OSPF, the RIP will take this path because of the matrix. Matrix is only hop. But the OSPF will do what? It will not see the hops, it will see the cost. So it will see the total cost for this network. From this side, it says that okay, from this side, let's say it's take 2 Mbps, and from this side it will get 30 Mbps. So it will do what? It will use this path, unless it is more hops it has, but still it will take this path. It will not take this path, because it sees the cost as a matrix, and it combines the cost of the current connected network and the network which is given by the other neighbor router. Now it is not like it is directly saying 30 Mbps. It will do what? It will calculate the cost, like this router. This router will send the cost of this link to this router. Then this router will add the cost of this link, make the cost, then it will send this router. So when it sends to this router, it will add the link cost and then the cost which is sent by this router, and then total cost it will make to reach this network. So once they see all the cost, then the routers will decide that the minimum cost, the path which is taking the minimum cost, and that cost they will take and take it into the routing table. And these other costs, these costs which is having the more cost, they will not take. So it is like the minimum cost, the best path. The maximum cost is the not best path, and that is why it is called cost. But it depends on the speed. It is not like money. It is not talking about money. It is talking about the speed it gets. So less money, that means very good, and that is why it says cost here. So less cost, that means the path is good, and after checking the all path cost, then it will take the best path into the routing table, and the routing table is created. Now routing table is created, then it will start doing the routing. Now when it start doing the routing, then after a particular time it will send the hello update to everyone. It will send the hello updates to everyone, each other, and it can send very small time. Hello updates can be configured for minimum than 1 second also, 1 second, 2 seconds, and it will send the hello. Now this hello is very simple. It is not a big packet, so it will not take much time. It is just a hello. So they will keep sending the hello to everyone, to each other, to each neighbors. And then what, when they send the hello, they get the reply also. Like when this router says hello, so this router will also say okay, hello. Why? Because these OSPF don't do the broadcast, it do the multicast. It uses two IP addresses for multicast. It uses 224.0.0.5 and 224.0.0.6. These two multicast IP addresses to send the information to each other. So one IP is used to send the information from non-DR to DR router, and then the other IP, it is used to send the information from DR router to non-DR router. That is 224.0.0.5 and 6, these two IP addresses. So one is to send the information from non-DR to DR, and then DR to non-DR. So these hello packets will go by using this multicast IP addresses. They get the reply, and they keep sending the hello to each other. Now when suppose some network goes down, what happens in RIP? They wait for the timer to expire to send the update. But here what it do the trigger update. Trigger update, that means once the network down, it directly send the hello to the other router, says hello, and I have this network down. It notates that, and then it will send the other routers also that hello, this network is down. And then this router acknowledges that okay, I noted it. Okay, I noted this, that this network is down. And because of this, there is no loop, there is no chances of loop we have in this OSPF protocol. And that is why we can configure this router, this OSPF in a big network, in a large network, where the RIP is not possible to configure in the large network because of the looping problem. So that is how that OSPF works. Now these are the features of OSPF. Like it is industry standard routing protocol, because we can use it is like open source. Anyone can use it on any device. It supports only for internet protocol, IP protocol. Then autonomous, and only suppose it only support IP protocol, not AppleTalk or IPX. Then autonomous system is divided into multiple areas for easy and efficient routing. Fast conversions using link state routing method, and uses the bandwidth, that is cost, as a matrix. So it uses the bandwidth as a cost, that is cost as a matrix, and used in a large enterprise network environment. So this is what the features of the OSPF, and this is how the OSPF works. So we saw today that how we can configure the OSPF, what is OSPF and how it works, what are the features of the OSPF.